Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Magnet Marketers. Very excited today to have a great topic, and Jessica's going to bring in some goods to us, okay? So today's topic is actionable keys to maximizing your time and increasing productivity. Who doesn't need that? I know I do, and we want to dive into that. First, just give me a little bit of background. So my name is Mike Gingrich, and I'm the president of Digital Hill web software agency, co-founder of TabSite and Wafio.com software tools to help you grow leads on Facebook and on the web, as well as I founded a nonprofit called I Give Global. My goal every day is to live by the two tenets of adding value and being uncommon. I believe that helps us live a life of value and bring value to other businesses. My co-host is Jessica Phillips. Jessica is president and founder of Now Marketing Group and the Relationship Marketing System, where she helps brands translate their authentic story through online marketing and social media. Okay, so Jessica, setting the stage, backdrop again here.
Yeah.
Actionable keys to maximizing your time and increasing productivity. Do you want to set the stage for why this is important, or for yourself, maybe where this comes into play and some of the pitfalls we've seen, that type of thing?
Yeah. So first of all, a lot of these tips came from, I just got back from attending the Brian Tracy 3-day event that was in Dallas, Texas. And I, like many of us, think that we have, our calendars kind of planned out and scheduled, and then we're all being productive, but yet we all have a strain for our time. And this conference kind of addressed some of those things and some of the challenges that I was seeing within myself, even that I can go all day and be busy, but still not feel like I got something seriously accomplished. And I've tried out new apps and lots of different things to introduce to try to see if I could just manage it differently and get a better time management tactics in place and schedule for myself, and have found that none of those things had worked. Well, this conference kind of brought to light a lot of these tips that I want to share with everyone here, that really was explaining why you're moving and you're doing things, but you're not really reaching that goal, and what it is, and some ways to look at your time and your goals a little bit differently to help you maximize and reach those results. So I felt like this conference was really customized to me and everything I needed to hear. But honestly, I feel like everyone felt that way from attending this event. And it was really just a mindset too. So, yeah, I mean, I can go through some of the things. I made a list of all of these, the tools and what they had talked about at the conference, and that really putting it to work now. One of the things that they talked about first is that the average person only uses 11% of their potential. And, this conference is all about, 11%. Okay. If you think about that, like, you're just really touching the surface. And they were like, what makes, the Michael Jordans of the world, or the Steve Jobs, or, the Albert Einsteins, or all these people that have achieved a legacy of greatness in their life? Like, what sets them apart from you or I, right? And they were talking about, like, these people, a lot of them, they hadn't graduated high school. They've had many failures in their life, but they achieved something great and that potential that was inside of them. And they talked about, why is that? Why is the average person only achieving 11% of their potential of what they could really reach? And they started out there, because if you really think about it, you really have to start and think, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to focus your life effort and legacy around? Because what you put your mind and body, time, everything, and effort into becoming, that's where you need to focus your time. That's where you need to focus. So really starting to think, what do you want to, grow and hone in on in order to make your time worthwhile? And I know a lot of us have jobs, right? I mean, we have jobs, but we also have things that we're doing in our life, and your job and your potential can align no matter what you're doing. They're saying, no matter if you're doing the dishes or whatever, do it to the best of your ability, do it to the best of your potential, because that's all leading up to what's building your character and what's building you and developing your potential. They started talking about the average person too, which was crazy. There was like 1% of the population that truly invests in professional development throughout their whole life. And that's why a lot of people don't reach their true potential, is because they think, I've graduated, I got my degree, I got the job I want or whatever, and I'm done. I just keep doing these things over and over and over again, but not stopping and taking time to develop in your skill sets. And like Michael Jordan's, for example, they're constantly practicing the game, even though they maybe have this career, this professional career, doesn't mean they stop practicing or stop learning some tips from other people. But you have to be a lifelong learner and continue to want to develop yourself and want to be a better person.
Yeah.
And you have to soak it in, So that's kind of how they set the stage there, which I thought was really important to understand that first before you can build upon it to become.
Okay, so that was the stage that we're not using our potential. 11%. Yep. That's like drastically low. Okay, so you really thought maybe we're at 60% or something like that, but 11%, and then 1% of us are lifelong, ongoing learners?
That focus on professional development. Just developing yourself, like whatever it is, being a better version of yourself, taking time for like that conference, taking time for like something like this, where you're wanting to soak in information and say, you know what, I still have things to learn. I still need to be a better version of myself, better than I was yesterday. All
right. So that's the backdrop. And I think we can agree with that. Those percentages are, of course, like hit you in the face, but we all generally probably have that sense that we could be doing better, and that we have some areas where we're not as productive, and that hopefully there's always more to learn. But lifelong learners. Okay, so that's the stage now. What you got us bought in. So what's I'm busy, that type of thing. So now where do I go with that?
Busy. So I'm going to do the time piece last, even though it's really important, because this is how they made it makes sense to why we're wasting time. Okay. So they first said that you have to know what you're working towards. What are you trying to put your time towards, right? What are you trying to grow in your potential? And that it all starts with your goals. What are your goals? And that a lot of us have goals, right? Or we're saying, this is what I'd like to do, but we're not really being specific in your goals. So almost like business, when you have to write down your SMART goals, you need to have those for yourself. And you need to not just have the goals, but you have to write them down, not like type it in a computer, which I'm guilty of until this conference. You have to write them down. You have to list them out. And I want to read a study so I don't mess it up. They said, so this study was done by Harvard University, and 3% of the students had written down goals and plans to accomplish. Only 3% when they told these students to plan out goals. Only 3% of the students had written down their goals, and 13% of them just had like goals in mind when they asked these students if they had, goals and what are they going to school for? What are they trying to achieve? But of the ones that wrote them down versus the 13% just said they had the goals up here, right? They knew what they wanted to accomplish. The 3% on average achieve their goals 10 times more than the other people in the class. So they said in general, as a person, if you're writing down your goals every day, you have 80% chance, higher success rate if you write them down and write them down every day. And not just writing down goals. Like they use an example, I want to lose 20 pounds of fat, right? Not just I want to lose weight. You can get kind of specific. I want to lose 20 pounds of fat. They said just the difference between writing down, I want to lose 20 pounds of fat to I want to lose 20 pounds of fat in the next 4 months will make your chances of achieving that goal 80% more.
Specific, likely. Measurable.
Yep. and write them down every day. They said not just look at them every day, because I've heard it before, like you write down your goals and you look at them every day. They say write them down, and then literally on a notepad. And I have now a notepad here where it's just a notebook, and I'm literally writing my goals. And every day I'm turning the page and writing down another goal that is, it could be the same exact goal, but rewriting it again. And they said over time, start looking back and you'll notice that your goals get more and more specific, or you're getting greater at your, achieving the goal. And maybe it starts out 20. Now you're like 27. And within
is that a goal for the day, or
that can be your goal for a day, if that's your short-term goal. But yeah, they were using examples there of like 6-month year goal, and that's what I was doing. And I had planned mine. I actually experienced this, which was really cool. I had attended a class, a mastermind group of ladies where we had set out our goal. And I have always wanted to take my kids to Disney. Okay. I've always said I want to take them to Disney. It was not until, and I've had the means, it's expensive. I could have saved for it and took the time off, but it wasn't until I started writing down that goal that I wanted to take my children to Disney and launch relationship marketing system. Until I started writing it down, this past year is when I achieved it. So there's a lot to be said with this, and that people are coming up and sharing their success stories of doing just that, writing down the goals that they have. And because you're more mindful of it than throughout the day, right? You're more mindful of how you're going to be spending your time, and is it helping you achieve your goal?
Yep.
Yeah. Pens and paper. They were talking, Chuck makes up a good point. He says, we need to buy more pens and paper and disregard these silly devices when being actionable to self. They talked a lot about that, and I'm so guilty of it. And I've changed, my thinking about it. Yes, I love technology, and I'm putting lots of to-dos or whatever in online, but I have to have them on paper. They said, if there's something cognitive where you're using every one of your senses, where you're visualizing and seeing your goal, you are using action and writing it out, and it's doing something. I didn't write down the chemical that they said in your brain, but it's performing, a chemical response in your brain on how likely you are to, achieve this, and it's creating meaning, and it's coming to life in this way because you're able to visualize it. You're able to be a part of this goal.
Okay. Now, because I think that, for my own personal journey, I think that it's often you start well and then you fade. And so I'm not doing well at keeping those things in front of me, and I think what you're bringing up is the importance of having that with you and revisiting that over and over again. I've never thought about the pondering of writing them down again, kind of thing. Or, I know the need to check in on them, and I just am finding myself convicted, guilty here of not revisiting some.
I was too.
At the beginning of the year that need to, and they kind of get gray after a while.
And they said, do it before you do anything else. Like, don't go into your, checking your email first thing in the morning. What are your goals? Because your goal should predict and should dictate what you do for that day. If it's not going up to your goals, and I'll jump ahead a little bit in one of my notes here where they said the people, this is a quote by Warren Buffett, and he says that say no, basically, was the gist of it. But he said the difference between successful people and really successful people is the really successful people learn to say no to almost everything. They said, take your goals, write out your goals, and then write your 3 action steps that you need to achieve these goals. But write your goals out every day. And as you, get closer to them, then, you can change it, you can update it, make another, goal to this. But then make sure that you're checking off if you've reached this goal. Like, check it off, star it, reward yourself. You've reached this goal. But start saying no to the things that do not align with your goal. And that is really the kind of stage setting for how we're managing our time. And because we're saying yes to way too many things, and you need to start saying no more. And they were sharing, success of Warren Buffett and Steve Jobs and, a lot of the, successful people that we all look up to, is that one of their top key to the success. They said, share the number one thing that helped you become successful. And they all shared no. Which is
just say no.
Yeah, just say no. We need to bring it back. It does not just apply to Dare. No, you cannot have my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so now we're reviewing. We've got them written down, and we're physically writing them. We're reviewing them on a daily basis, and they're again smart. They're what's it all stand for? I mean,
specific, measurable.
Yep.
Actionable, realistic, and timely. So while we're talking about writing it down, they also said, if you think it, ink it. How many great ideas have you thought of in the next, year you see it on an infomercial and you're like, dang it, I should have made that. That Snuggie could have been mine or whatever it was. But if you think it, ink it. And they said some of your group ideas, this is your body, your mind trying to tell you something, write it down. Write it down. Don't just think I'm going to come back to that later. But they said the biggest, ideas and the successes of several entrepreneurs and business owners have come from those ideas that they just wrote down. And it was kind of just, your subconscious trying to tell you something right then. You need to write it down. If you think it, ink it.
Think it. That's a good one. I think we should have a social media image on that one.
Exactly. All right. So getting into the fun stuff. This Darren Hardy was presenting the most on the time that I really liked his principles on how you looked at time. And he said that on average, the average person is interrupted about every 3 minutes. And with social media, with our devices and everything else, email, I can completely agree with this. Every 3 minutes, you're getting, the opportunity, interrupters that are coming to you. And if you're getting interrupted and you're like falling into that trap of checking it or just looking at it, they said it takes your mind 23 minutes to get back on task.
Yeah.
Where you're at your optimal performance. He said, yes, we all think we can multitask. That's a lie. You may be able to do things, he said, and he was using an example that your brain literally is like a drunk person while you're operating because you're just not really cognitively fully engaged in whatever you're trying to do. He said, so take a task that you want to do, your top 3 for the day, the top 3 that you need to complete. And he listed them as A, B, C, D, E. So A is your must-do items, right? Your must-do, where you have serious consequences if you don't get that and it's not helping you reach your goal. B, your should-do, mild consequence items. C, nice to do, no potential consequences. D, your delegated items. And E, your eliminate, so everything of low value. But take your list of your top 3 and all the things that you can delegate, but your top 3, throw the rest away for the day. Like, only focus on your top 3 things that you really need to get done. The rest of the stuff, if it doesn't have consequence or whatever, come back to it. If you have extra, only focus on your top 3 things that you need to get done. And he uses a method, and we started doing this at the Now Marketing Group office. And I have to tell you, I feel like I've gained a week to my week. Like, I'm not exaggerating. They said, focus in for 90 minutes on just one task. Just one task. Just focus in your 90 minutes of time. If it takes less than that, great. But focus in 90 minutes on just one thing that you need to get done. Do not open your email. Do not open social media. Do not open your text messaging. Just focus in 90 minutes on what you need to get done. When you're done with that 90-minute time, reward yourself with a 15-minute break. He said that we're so conditioned to getting interrupted and responding to it because it's almost like a reward for us, right? It's a like that we just got on our picture, our status on Facebook. It's a email that we feel like, oh, we've accomplished this. We responded back. We're rewarding ourselves and we're producing this dopamine because we feel like we're getting things done when in all reality, we're not.
Spinning.
So yeah, if you're writing down your goals, literally he says, write down your goals and your to-dos for the day. And he has some great, I'll share the link on his website, calendars on how to, manage your goals and write them out. But by checking off the box or, drawing in that circle that you got it completed, that is going to become your reward. And your break time, he said, make sure you take the break. Don't just get into the grind of 90-minute jam sessions, but take that break. Then check your social, check your email, read a book, relax, do nothing, whatever. But do the 90 minutes on, the 15 minutes off, and you will notice a huge difference. And
okay. And you're giving us a little background that you've begun doing this.
Yes. So we started putting Post-it notes.
Working in 90-minute blocks totally then? Yes.
And I'm telling you, like, I wish somebody had told me this a long time ago, because it worked so much. They said they did some studies of some entrepreneurs, and they calculated, and he said, Darren Hardy said he did this on himself, and he shares it on his website. But he said the average entrepreneur gets around 17 minutes to 28 minutes of work done per day. And they're talking about people that are working 12, 15-hour days. The average, like, prime work, real work, is like 17 to 28 minutes. This is crazy. Like, and I can relate. I can relate.
Absolutely.
I've always thought my best time to get work done, and I've even said it, I think, on here, is like, oh, I work between 11 and 1 or 11 and midnight because I feel like I can get so much done then. It's my go time. Well, not really thinking about it. The reason why it's my go time is because I'm not interrupted. Like, I'm just working without interruptions. That's why it's my go time.
Yep.
It's really about just that non-interruption. So we started doing it here at the office. If you have a team, where we just said, if you have a Post-it note on the outside of your computer, do not bother this person, do not bother them. They're in their jam session is what we called it, or what we call it here. Too long to focus, 90-minute blocks. They said, so a question asked here, said, great tips. Do you feel like the 90-minute blocks is too long to focus? I thought the same thing when I heard that. I was like, I could see 20 minutes. I could see, 30, but 90 is too long. And Darren Hardy shared why he thought why he says 90 minutes. And it was some studies that were done of giving yourself that window of time that said that was the prime optimal time. And he said it's going to be really, really hard to get to that 90-minute time where you're not wanting to check away. And he said, because our brains want us to get rid and focus on things that we don't want to do, really. Like if we feel like this is going to be hard work, that's why it's so easy for us to get pulled away, because we really know that it's hard and our minds don't want us to focus in on it. It's called Parkinson Law is where he got this from. I'm going to post it in here. Whereas if you give yourself the time to complete a task, you will fill that time too. So let me explain what it means. So Parkinson Law, he shared in his presentation too, which meant, have you ever noticed, like, if you have a list of items to complete for the day, and maybe it's just going to the mail, going to the post office, running to the store to grab something, and then, drafting up a proposal for something. He said, if you give yourself that day to do it, that it's going to fill the whole day, right? But if you give yourself a list and you have to fly out in the afternoon, right, and catch a flight, that you will finish those tasks in like a third of the time. So because the time that you give yourself to finish tasks is, you literally will try to take up that whole amount of time, or fill that whole block. Yeah. So give yourself a time frame on the task that you need to complete too. He said 90 minutes is a good time to do those big tasks that you need to get done, or to go on to the next one if you finish that first one. It's not saying you only have to focus on one. You do have to focus on one thing at a time, but maybe not just one task in 90 minutes. Does that make sense? So it's just optimal kind of go time within that 90 minutes time, because you're giving yourself a time frame and you're going to be focused in on just being productive and not being interrupted.
So what are you doing with meetings in the office, or phone calls, or items that team members need you for?
Yes, good question. So I've solved the email one first, But so the email one I adapted, and I just actually stumbled on this before the conference, but really hadn't taken it to its full kind of potential. But it's called SaneBox. Have you heard of it? SANE. Let me post it in here. And it is amazing. And this is great for email. So the email thing. SaneBox separates and learns your email behavior and the emails that you need to respond to and the ones that are just junk that we get in our email box. And they separate it to Sane Now, Sane Later, and Sane Archive. And you can create other SaneBox, like clients, team, fires, whatever you want to call it. But the Sane box, it only shows in the emails that you need to be concerned about right then and there. And the ones when you have a block of time, you can go check it later or at your leisure. And then it shows you how much time that you've saved throughout the week by just using that tool. It'll give you all the ones that are categorized as unimportant in one email box with just the title and the heading. And you can say delete all if you don't even want to look at it. And it'll literally delete them all. And that has saved me an incredible amount of time with my email. The Sane sends me my report. And right now it's like on average 6 hours a week. Just an email. Yeah, like it's blowing my mind and I love it. So that's email. Now, meetings and phone calls. So we do scheduled meetings. So we're just making sure that we're planning out we're trying to get like succinct on the blocks of time when we're focusing in on our tasks. And we've usually been pretty good about that. Now we're trying to get, extra focused in, like, so we can all get in kind of the rhythm of the same jam sessions, because we all want to talk and chit chat. And, we have several moms, in our office that this is our social time too. It's not really because you're at work, but I'm trying to get to the point where we're taking the breaks at the same time. So if you do want to talk about what your video your kid just made, that's super cute, we can do it in the 15-minute block chill time versus, and then I won't get, as upset with time wasting because I know it's our break. Then and get all in that rhythm. So we're trying to plan that out. Now, phone calls, I haven't really found a great way besides turning it on airplane mode. Right now, during my time, I've just started turning it on airplane mode. And, if it's really super urgent, my kids and, family know how to get a hold of me through another person at the office or whatever.
Yep. Okay. All right. So what else would you want to cover then? We've taken a couple steps here, but I know you probably got some other keys you want to keep going with.
Yeah. So Darren Hardy talked about, like I said, the writing it out and then circling in front of your goal, because you have to gamify it in order to give yourself a reward. So gamifying it, make it, a game, seeing how many things you can get off your list, and it's done well within that time period. And
we're talking about that 90-minute period now?
Not any time throughout the day, but that 90-minute period, yes, and your other tasks that you're achieving throughout the day.
Your tasks.
Gamify it. Writing, drawing a circle, planning it out. He used an example in one of the calendars that he has on his website that you can say your goals are, I want to, like, for example, use an example of build a stronger relationship with his wife and have more date nights and some of those things that he was saying. So he gamified it and saying he scheduled in, like, send her a romantic text, send, do XYZ items. And then he listed throughout the week how many times he did a task that would help him reach his ultimate goal, and was almost creating like a point system. He said he didn't tell his wife that he was gamifying this, but, but that he was turning it into almost like a game. And he said, and then he noticed, how much it was improving, and how fast he was reaching his goals because he started gamifying it.
Okay.
So that was one that we talked about, productivity. He also said, and this makes so much sense, he was like, why are so many people great at things where they seem like they have so much more time? And he used an example again of Apple. It came up again. But he said they focused relentlessly on 1 to 3 things. That's it. But he said Apple, why they're so great and what they've done, they release one new SKU a year. while all these other, companies that are in the same boat are releasing, 20, 30, 100 SKUs. He started talking about, focus just all your efforts into doing one thing great. Like just do those things great. Focus on your top 3 and forget the rest. You can't just, be a master of none. You need to hone in your skills on, your top 3 things and throw away the rest of the list, is what he said. And there was another presenter that came on stage right after him, Delatoro McNeil, and he said, if you can't, don't touch it unless you can crush it. And his whole presentation was talking about, like, why even try things if you're not going to, or try to add all these other stuff in if you can't crush it. Like, focus on what makes you happy, what you want to accomplish, and forget everything else. It's going back to that saying no, saying no to it. Just do those things that make you great. So his list of the things to do, start with what you're going to stop doing first. So if you want to get into this rhythm and start becoming a success and time master, first write all the things you're going to stop doing immediately. Cancel it out. What are you going to stop saying yes to? What are you going to start saying no to? Stop doing those things that are wasting your time. 2, pick the 3 things that you want to master. Pick those 3 things and focus relentlessly on those. He said you need to outfocus, outlast, outgrow, and outfail in all those areas that will help you become the master of those 3. We'll call them SKUs, but 3 things in your life or your business that you want to grow at. And take time to invest in your own greatness. They used an example of wellness kind of spelled out. And the W was, focus on your own body and your health. You have to be in well in order to maximize your time and yourself. E, make sure you're focusing on, your economic soundness. Make sure what you're doing is rewarding yourself and making profit, and you're getting some kind of reward for it, to where you don't feel like you have to add on all these extra things in order to, make money. Focus on the A, which is acquiring new skills, but not just that, not just going to these training sessions or learning, a new trick. Like maybe today it's the 90 minutes on and the 15 minutes off, but taking action on them. He said a lot of things just go back to you actually taking action on it, not just learning it. Okay. You have to take action. The L is love yourself and what you say to yourself in your mind. They talked a lot about meditation and the law of attraction at these sessions too. On what you're saying internally to yourself has a big impact into what you're actually going to get back. You have to tell yourself, I am going to achieve my goals. I am going to do X, Y, Z. I am capable. I am, these I am statements that really play a lot into whether or not you achieve your goals. T, mastering your time, and H, know that you're called for, a higher purpose, that you have to, realize you're only using the stat with 11% of your potential right now, that there's a lot more that you can accomplish.
Right.
So that was a lot dumped right here on the 3-day conference, all within 41 minutes. But those were some of my favorite things. The time one, definitely the 90 minutes on, the 15 minutes off has really impacted.
Yep.
And the writing the goals down for sure.
Okay. So writing the goals down, the time pieces, and then sticking with those. I mean, it's, I guess, but the main thing is, I mean, they always talk about, what does it take, 21 days to create a habit, but just the ritual of needing to revisit those and ongoing. I mean, that's what I'm guilty of, the slow fade kind of thing. So you gotta watch that then.
They talked a lot about that too, like building a habit, and focusing in so you don't fade out on it, because it's going to take time to create this habit of being aware, just being aware, of where your time is going, and really stopping to think, is this, they say pause before you say yes or no to something. Is this helping me achieve my goals or is it not? Pause, then respond. Get into the habit of really being just aware of where your time is going and how you're using it. They said, you can set up a timer and literally just clock yourself and see where is your time going right now. How is it being used right now? And did it help you accomplish your goals or did it not? But it starts with being aware first of what's happening.
I think I still haven't conquered it all from a service business perspective. What do you do? And I guess as a team, then there's potential that you need to have some people on, some people off. Kind of things that I don't know. That just seems, in service business. That you got to provide that service. So how do you do that in those blocks? It seems like you got to have perhaps people spread out over those a little bit. You got to all be on board with that.
Well, if you think about it, okay, so this is probably not the best example, but if you think about it, like McDonald's and some of these restaurants, they have like a little timer there, and they want to make sure that things are being done quickly. I know at Verizon, way many moons ago when I worked there, we had a timer on how much time we spent with the customer, but then also what the result was from it too. So you're not focusing in so much on, the chit chat and the extras. You want to take time to build a relationship with that person, but do it, and be productive at the same time. Amazon, all of the companies that are providing a product and also have to manage the service kind of fall into that. But I think you have to see what works best for each company.
Okay. Yep. All right. So as we got to maybe wind down here a little bit, let's see if there's any questions. I want people to be able to freely add those in /question, ask your question. But as we're waiting on those, we have a few people that weren't here at the beginning. So if you're going to do a 30-second recap of the 3-day weekend, why don't you go for it? Yeah.
Okay, so before you can master your time, you have to master yourself and know what your goals are. You need to think of what your top 3 goals are, or top 3 things that you want to accomplish. But write your goals out and write them out daily with a pen and paper so you can focus in on it. Mastering your time means being self-aware and saying no more than you say yes, and really being just highly involved with where your mindset at and where your time is being spent. Do 90-minute jam sessions of just all in on one task, complete that task, go into the next one, but 90 minutes in, and then take a break and reward yourself for 15 minutes off so you can stay in optimal success mindset of getting things completed. Don't try to be a master of everything. Pick the things that you can crush and crush it. If you can't crush it, don't touch it, is what they said. And make sure that you are delegating, but also being aware of your own person to where you can grow professionally and emotionally too. They talked about just knowing yourself and being kind to yourself, being kind to yourself for your failures, because the failures will help you get to your successes.
Yep. The importance of zeroing in, the importance of, I'm going to take away, my black book is out there. It's and I need to go back to those pages that I set at the beginning of the year and review those again. I carry it with me, but I don't read them every day.
Yeah.
So I got to get into that.
I went back and started, it's on Audible now, but I went back to Think and Grow Rich too. They reference that book a lot, on just your mindset, like what you're telling yourself every day. Like you need to go back and tell yourself every day before you go into something, and that goes back to being aware and saying, I am going to do this and I am capable and I am, XYZ, and saying what you want out loud. And they were sharing some stats that I don't have on my notes here on just what that will do to impact your goals as well. Just by telling yourself it.
Yep. Yeah. Good. And Chris has a good point there. The weaknesses, you can't improve that much. I mean, isn't that the truth? I mean, you know, if you're at a 2 out of 10 level on something, even if you're a 4 out of 10 level on something, I mean, you know, improvement's going to get you to a what, 5, you know, and so is that high performance? It's still not, you know, we need to find some of our sweet spots, and yeah, you need to delegate away some of those other areas.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, it was very rewarding, I would say, just the people that were there too. And it was just a good energy, you know, and they talked too about just who you surround yourself with. Make sure that you're, you know, enriching yourself and others.
There's time suckers as well. There's energy vampires, you know, that type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I literally did take the notes. I have a full notebook here. As soon as they taught the writing it down on day 1, I was like, all right. I learned what handwriting was again.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Now, as everyone knows, our goal here in Magnet Marketers is always to offer value and to help people be a magnet with their marketing, not a bullhorn. And again, part of this is at that high level, 30,000 foot view, you got to take care of yourself. You got to be organized before you're going to be able to attract anyone. So that's why we had this topic today, and we carry on with it every week, Tuesdays at 4 Eastern time. And Jessica, do you want to introduce our topic for next week as we kind of wind?
Absolutely. So next week we'll be talking about email and the art of sending emails that can help you within your sales. So not the spammy ones that go into the Sane Later or Sane Archive box that we're talking about, but emails that will actually help convert, because email is not dead. So we will be talking about that next week, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right back here on Blab. And I am finding this link so I can share it here with everyone. And I will post it in the chat box. And I so appreciate everyone being here today. Let me find it right here. There we go.
And if they want to carry on that conversation further, let me just put these links in here as well, where they could find us on Twitter so that we could keep that conversation going.
Thank you.
All right. Excellent.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Excellent. Good stuff.
Right.
I thank you for sharing, and hopefully our audience gets some value out of that as well. Jump on that link. You can subscribe to next week. And until then, we are the Magnet Marketers. So you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. See ya.